for this week's Preppin data, we only have one input field where it has all of our download data that we've got from web scraping, all sort of, yeah, you can see there, it's a big long, lots of bits of information kind of stuck together basically. So our first step is to split that all up. So the way that I've chosen to do that, if we kind of, yeah, let's add a step in between here, so we can look at the data. So if I just make this column nice and wide, then we can see that kind of the relevant bits of information. So here's the battle, and then there's this break, and then there's a bit more information, and then there's another break, then there's the date, another break, the war. So basically, it's the breaks that we want to be splitting up our data by. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use the calculated field to replace all of those times we see a break with a vertical pipe. So that then we can use our automatic split or our split values, a custom split, to split up all of those different on all of those different vertical bars, basically. So like so, if we split off all those fields, then we get all of the fields nice and split up, and we just delete that initial field basically. We'll move this field width back to where it was before, so that we can see that we've got our battle here, we've got more information about the battle here, our dates, our war, etc. and so forth. So that's worked really well for us. Cool. So we've done that first step of splitting up. Now we're going to clean the battles. So as I was kind of saying there, we have kind of two bits of information about the battles, don't we? We have that field that I've just gotten rid of or deleted here that had the battle in it. But if we look at it, I'll go back to the previous step, then we can see that we've got 64 values there, but we've got 65 rows. And if we scroll down to where the duplicate is, then we can see that if we click on it, then we've got the Battle of St. Albans, and we've got the first and the second battle here. So we'd rather keep the information about whether it's the first or the second battle, rather than just having the Battle of St. Albans, because that's a bit vague. So we don't need this column, basically. So we get rid of that, and then we start to clean up the battlefield itself. So to do that, to get rid of all this kind of span style stuff at the front, then we're just going to do a split where we split on the little oh, what's one of those called? I don't know. We call them crocodiles sometimes at the data school. So what I mean by that is if I'm splitting value custom split, then we have this crocodile here, this greater than or less than sign. That would be a greater than. Yeah, that'd be a greater than sign. And we're splitting off the last field basically there. So that returns for us just the information after that. So we don't care about the span, blah, 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 stuff that's helpful for HTML. We just care about the battle information. So that's how we get that nice and clean, and then just rename that field. Simple. Now we kind of come on to the trickier bit, which is cleaning our dates, because our dates are not all in the same format. So first of all, we do, what are we doing here? What is this calculated field doing? I know what that's doing. Right. Sorry. So if we come back to this step here, just to look at what our dates are looking like here, then we've got some fields which are a bit annoying to us. So we've got the battle lasted over 2 days, for example, here. And then we've got another example that is down here where it lasted over multiple days as well. So we just want to be able to take the first of those dates. So whether it's the 23rd of June or the 10th of August, we don't really want the -11 or the -24. So how do we get rid of those? So we go into our calculated field here, where we're just going to replace this field, and we're saying that if we've got that regex match, so we're using a cheeky bit of regex here, you know, some numbers, and then there might be a space, and then a dash, and then there might be a space in another number. We just want to replace that basically with like the first group and anything afterwards, so the month and the year. So we're just saying replace that if we see that we've got basically digits and then this whole bit with the space and the dash of the space and the extra digits. We want to ignore this second capture group, and this dot star is basically just bringing up back everything that's after that, so our month and our year. And so that's what the $1 and the $3 means. It's just keeping that bit of information. So the first days, so the 10th, and then August, and then the year, and ignoring that -11 basically, which would be in here. So that's how we're dealing with those dates. Otherwise, if we don't have the dashes, we just keep the date as it is at that time. So, as I said, yeah, this is where it's a bit more tricky. So, we do that. We then remove all of our punctuation that we have left, because some of the fields had commas in, some of them didn't. It's easy to just deal with them all without commas, because we shouldn't really need any punctuation anyway to make our dates work. And then comes this horrible, horrible if statement. So the kind of four main categories of dates that we have the day, the month, and the year. We've got some examples where we've got the month, the day, and the year. We've got some examples where we just have the year. And then we've got this tricky one where we've got the year and AD. So, meaning, you know, Anno Domini, or however you pronounce that. So how do we deal with that? So let's deal with that one first, because it's our kind of irregularity. So we're saying if our regex match, we've got, you know, just some digits, a space, and then AD, then our date pass is going to be 3 years, because we've got 991. And then this capital GG means AD. And so date pass that and change that into a date. And that does change it into the 1st of January 991. So that's great. That all works for us. Then we deal with those that are the month, the day, and the year by, again, doing a similar kind of regex match formula to say anything, which would be the month, and then some digits, a space, and some more digits. That will be our month, space, year. And that's how we translate that into a date as well. Similarly, for those that are day, month, year, then we have our regex match saying digits, space, anything, and then our more digits for the year. That's how we're regex matching it to be the right thing. And then finally, we've got just those that are regex matchings to just be some digits, which is those that just have a year associated with them. And then we use our date pass to have, you know, just years. And that all works nicely. So bit of trial and error, I think, to get to that date, but oh, it's nice when they're all there, isn't it? So that all works, and we can get rid of that split 3 data. And now we've just got a little bit more cleaning to do, where we get rid of these empty rows because we want to only have information which is complete. So we do that. And then we just do a little bit of cleaning of that victory. Who's the victors? So there's our filter that we're doing. We're just renaming our war. And then we're splitting off again, similarly like we did before with the battle, where we're splitting off on like the crocodile, and then we're splitting off on the colon as well, because we don't want the word victors to be in our column. So then we do both of those splits and then rename this to be the victors. Perfect. And then we just rename our last field here to be the description. And then we've got a much cleaner, nicer data set that we're working with now, so that we could go on to build a nice timeline potentially. And we could actually plot all of those dates because they make sense chronologically now. So hopefully that was pretty straightforward prepping data, and hopefully it was fun too. So thanks for listening.